Small World is a really interesting combat type game, I guess you would call it. The more players you can get, the more fun it is. The expansions add a lot to it. The base game itself, though, is still fun. I will say that there are a ton of tokens and a lot of little micromanaging type stuff that needs to be done during the game, but it all pays off and is excellent. It's a lot of fun. Everyone I've ever played the game with loves it. Because of the way the combinations of the races and powers work, it's a little different every time you play, which also adds a lot of replayability to it. I'll open up and show you. Like I was saying before, there are a lot of tokens in the game. The expansions come with these little trays, which are excellent for keeping track of the tokens that are used in the game. I also use one of these to keep various tokens separated. See a bunch of the different tokens in use there. Lots to keep track of, but definitely worth it for the game. One of the really cool aspects of Small World is that it comes with different boards for different amount of players, which add a little bit of challenge. There's more squares on the larger boards to compensate for more players, but the smaller boards, I mean, you can play with a different number than they recommend, but it always adds up a little bit of variety because you can always swap up the map. This is the 2-player version. Here's the 3-player version. There's the 4-player map. And there's a 5-player map. There's also a 6-player map that was available through our Kickstarter campaign, but for now we're just going to use the 3-player here. Now I have a couple expansions mixed in, but there's all these different race combos. And the races will vary from wizards, goblins, kobolds, orcs, tritons. There's all sorts of different stuff. Like I said, some of the expansion packs are mixed in here. During the game you can have a row similar to that. And then to go with those, you're also going to have various traits. There's a big stack of these too with all different things. And like I said, I've got a few expansions mixed in here as well. You're going to take these and you're going to match them up with the races that are available. So every game, these combinations are going to be different. And depending on what you get, gives you different abilities during the game. Gives you extra points and things like that. And these numbers in the bottom corner here are how many of the tokens you're going to get. So in this case we have 6 skeletons here, plus 4 for the forest, so they're forest skeletons. And all these little rules here that are special to each race are gone over in the books. Once you play a few times, you learn those combos. The starter set comes with this really neat list. It's got all your races listed up here, all your special powers listed down there, and all the special rules and things listed on the back that explain how to play real quick. It's kind of like a quick start guide. Each of the expansions, as you buy them, comes with a similar card that has the new races up here and the new abilities on the back. Once you've played a few times, you're going to learn what they are. You're not going to have to look them up. Now, setting up the board is fairly simple. There's these little icons on the map here. It's kind of hard to see at that range, but they're for these guys, which are lost tribes. We like to play that they're basically the leftovers from last game. Basically, it just means that that section of the map is occupied and it requires more to take. And then you have these little mountain tokens that go wherever there's mountains. And the way you play is, say we took our skeleton army. So we got our 10 tokens there, 6 from the skeletons and plus 4 for the forest. Now you pick a side that you want to come on the map from. Since we're forests, we're after woods, we're going to go on this side to try to get all these forests that are right there. And the way it works is it takes 2 tokens to take an empty square. So we're going to put 2 there. And that's our first move. Now this one has a lost tribe in it, so it's going to take our normal 2 plus 1 for killing the lost tribe. and we take that one. And you go so on until you run out of tokens or you just don't want to go anymore. This is an empty one here, so we're going to put 2 more there. And this other forest over here has a lost tribe on it, so we're going to pay 3. And that uses up all of our moves for the turn. Now, if you got to the end and you were just shy of what you needed to take another place, you can always roll the reinforcement die, and you get whatever you roll plus that many troops. So say I was 1 short to go here, I could roll this, and I rolled 0, so I wouldn't have been able to do it. And then at the end of your turn, you tally up all the points that you've scored. So in this case, we get 1 point for each region. We own 4 regions. Plus our forest ability gives us +1 coin for each forest we control. And we control the 3 forests, so we would actually get 4 points for the zones and 3 more for forests, so we would get 7 this turn. And then your opponent would go and they would do the same thing. Now when your own guys here are killed, say they were taking over my own places, I have 2 guys here, so they would need 2 to take the square, +1 for each of my guys. They would need 4, and if an opponent put 4 there, I would, one of my guys would die and go back to the box. The rest would come back to my hand so I could redeploy next turn. When you get to a point where you don't think you can do anything else with your race, you can flip over the tokens. On the active side they look like this. On the decline side they look like that. Once your race goes into decline, you can no longer do anything with that race, and you have to do the entire race regardless of how many you got left. And you would also flip over your race combo to show that it's in decline. Now you will still score from your declining race until you get a second race that goes into decline, and then the first one you ignore, you keep your second one, and so on. You can only have 1 race in decline at a time unless there's some special rule otherwise. Ghouls are one. There's actually a couple special powers that allow you to do other things too. But the idea is to advance as much as you can, swap out to a new race, advance, and so on. And this keeps track of the turns. You go up, you have 10 turns. At the end of the 10th turn, you see who has the most gold, and that's who wins. This is a real simple going over things. I'm sure I skipped a few things, but you get the basic idea. It's a lot of fun. Again, the more people you play, the better it is. We've had some really fun games with 5 players on the bigger map, and it's a little different every time you play, so depending on what race combos come up, you may not necessarily want to pick your favorite race. There may be better ones. And as I showed in the beginning there, where you have the 5 different races lined up and you get to choose, if you don't want the very first one, you have to pay money for each one you skip. So the farther down the line you go, the more expensive they cost you. So that's always something to keep in mind. Anyway, that was a quick look at Small World. Definitely a fun game. The one big thing with it is, like I said, there's a lot of little tokens to micromanage. Some people are kind of turned off on the idea of all the tokens and managing everything, but it's not as bad as it sounds, especially if you play a few times and you know where you put things. Those little trays that they give you to keep your tokens in, especially if you can label those somehow, it makes things much faster being able to find what you need. And a lot of the tokens you don't even need to get out until they're required, so you can keep them right in those trays and out of the way and organized. Anyway, definitely give this a try if it looks like something you might be interested in. It is a lot of fun, and I'm sure there's some other playthroughs of this already posted online, so check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.